It's Thursday, July 9th, around 6:25 in the evening. Sun's at about 30 degrees, 35 degrees, 30, yeah, about 35 degrees. I'm going to start by just looking at negative space, first of all, because that's something that I'm not fully comfortable with just yet. I haven't fully learned how to look at negative space, and it's sort of now from this angle, this particular spot looks like almost like an alphabet, doesn't it? Like a E with a flourish going down, something like that, or a reverse 3. If you're looking from the other side, that looks like a 3. That looks like a T, doesn't it? E-T, E, and then T. Interesting, huh? That looks like an hourglass. We keep talking about that. It could be a vase, it could be an hourglass. That's sort of interesting. It looks like a bat or something from this angle. This particular leaf within the hourglass. That's almost a clear sideways face, but also an eye right there, right? So interesting images today. And then, of course, there are images in the water. And there's life in the water as well. There's fish. It's an interesting thought experiment. Our world is reflected in the water. But the water's world, whatever is under the water, that's not reflected in our world, right? The water underground is, under the water there is a world which is populated by algae and small plants. There's small fish. But that world is not, as far as I know, reflected into our world. The reflection only works one way. It does beg the question that is our world reflected somewhere? And if so, what would our world look like? Would it be on turbulent waters? Would it be on calm waters? I suspect those are the 6:30 bells. I took the opportunity to relax completely. I'm trying to stay away from this compulsion to speak and instead let the environment do the talking. There seems to be a certain energy to the sun today. If you're noticing it every day, today seems slightly different. It's a little more mellow. I think that's almost the perfect word. Look right there. The sun is, I notice that particular patch quite often. And right now the sun is shining on that patch, right? But the energy seems to be tender almost, mellow. Or maybe that's just that's just my mood, I'm not sure. I distinctly noticed that. I think in one of the videos I spoke about how the energy is on that side of the koi pond. And when I zoomed in, it was apparent. But today, I'm not sure what it is. It's just a little mellowness. A little, I don't think it's melancholy. I think it's tenderness in a way. It's just like as if the sun is just caressing the leaves without a lot of energy. There is a swarm of insects, very tiny, right here, that are dancing around. I'm not sure if this video will capture them, but I can see them, and even on the camera I can see them. They're just swarming. They're moving in what seems like random motion, but clearly they are moving within a certain patch. So it's not truly random motion. And they're not colliding into each other, which implies that they're aware of each other. So what exactly are they doing? What, are they dancing? It's worthwhile asking that question, isn't it? When insects just move around for no reason, is it augmented reality? I hope you can see them. And just like that, they disappeared. After I started, no, they're still slightly there. Sort of came back again. Disappeared and then came back. Very interesting. Instead of sleeping today, I felt that tiredness come over again. But instead of sleeping today, I just went to my sofa and just dozed while I was sitting. And then I put on some loud music that was pleasing to me. I won't say what it is, for tactical reasons. But I put on some music on full blast, and to me it's music that's pleasing to my ears, but they wouldn't, if you were hearing it for the first time and so on, it would be a rude shock. and suddenly and suddenly I no longer felt tired. I started seeing images of people like throwing their headphones, and I saw some people like on the floor writhing in what seemed like pain, and I was like, what's going on? Well, I mean, it's just music, and it's like pleasing music at that. Why are people acting this way? It was sort of amusing, but I no longer felt tired, which is interesting. My desire to sleep vanished. I felt more alert. I felt like I was awake into my almost my natural state of being, instead of an artificially enforced sleeping pattern because of whatever was going on. So that was sort of interesting. I truly don't know what they use my brain for. I have no idea. I'm sure they use it for something. Anyway, these glasses are still there, and with the glasses, the presence of an observer is always around. There is, this iconic tree here with its own set of glasses, looking out there. A couple of trees in the background over there. The leaves, that have fallen, and I bet you if we observe them long enough, you will start to see patterns, even within the leaves that have fallen seemingly at random. You will suddenly start seeing patterns, and you'll be like, how is that possible? They fell at random. How could there be a pattern? And when I say pattern, I mean a pattern that's recognizable by human eyes. I don't just mean a pattern that exists in randomness. I mean a pattern that humans can decipher. I find that to be sort of really interesting, as if Earth itself is talking, and all it requires is somebody to listen. All right, so we could do this. We could try and see if there's a pattern. First of all, the shadow, right here, there's a shadow. It's an inverse Y, which is almost like a peace sign, right? You see the shadow? It's an inverse Y shadow. Now, of course, that shadow is coming from this branch, which is a Y branch, right? But for it to fall down right there into I think that's what that is. Or maybe it's one of these branches, I'm not sure. But clearly there's an inverse Y shadow, like a peace sign. Now, we've been speaking about the peace sign for a while. Now, if you keep looking at this sign, it also looks like somebody who is walking, right? This is the back leg, right? This is the front leg, and this is the body. And whoever it is walking. Now, that's the bigger pattern. What about the pattern in the leaves and stuff? Can you see any patterns? I don't see any immediate obvious patterns, but let's keep looking. Oh, wait. How about this? There's a star right there. I'll show you with my hand. See that? See what I mean? Look again. That. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of a thing. But this also resembles an animal. You see? Now remember, these are leaves that have fallen at random, seemingly at random. I wonder what those bells are. It's after 6. 6:10 maybe? But why would it ring at 6:10? Not sure. Oh look, some more graduates setting up. There's something certainly there, right? Like this right there. The Y shape has started to change. See this Y? The inverse Y, that has started to change. Oh my gosh. I suddenly see a bird. Look, look, look. See the bird? Huh. Wait a minute. Whoa. See it? Isn't that fun? Like, we did not, like, we were just sitting there and I didn't see that at all. Huh. That is very cool. Like, just patterns from fallen leaves. How about that? Very cool. Now, if these patterns are not augmented reality, and I always start by prefacing that because, like you, I am very, very sort of, how shall I say it, very aware of the fact that stuff could be augmented. So I try to keep an open mind, and if I see something that's pareidolik for me, meaning that I'm seeing patterns in nature, then I want to leave open the idea that it's augmented reality. Because otherwise some of the stuff, I see stuff everywhere. It's kind of mind-boggling. And because nobody taught me from the beginning to look at the planet or look at the environment with a intent to look for patterns, I went around just, without seeing anything. I just, to me, these were just trees, and the ground was just ground, and leaves were just leaves, and what pattern? I never look for patterns, like, so, and now when I do look for patterns and I see them, I will also see something that is clearly augmented, and so are these patterns real or are they augmented? I don't know. But regardless, it's it's an interesting world. If somebody created these for my amusement, whoever that is, thank you for doing that. It's There are many ways to use augmented reality powers. This is one of the most beautiful, you know. I hear you, insistent crow. Excuse the fart. Yeah, by now you know it's a regular occurrence. It's just part of what happens, I suppose. Get used to it. I didn't eat anything that would cause me to have, the kind of farts I do. So I know it's simply folks doing whatever they're doing in my brain. Some of them could be just here for my safeguarding. Others could be there for missions. Others could be there for entertainment. I really don't know. So whoever you are, hope you're doing well. I'm going to do a meditation exercise. I'm wondering what would be the best meditation. We've done a leaf meditation before in one of the videos. I simulate breathing with the leaf. There are many ways to connect the breath with the environment, many different thoughts we could think. We could do a expulsion of toxicity meditation where you imagine that we are breathing in pure air, beautiful environment. We are breathing it all in, and we focus on the air that enters the nostrils and then trace it as it enters the nostrils and goes right into the lungs. Then the lungs slowly expand and then they reach full capacity. We hold it. We feel the breath in the lungs. We can feel the toxins from our body entering into that air as oxygen is taken to the different parts of the body through blood, and the carbon dioxide that is returned back comes to our lungs, goes into the air. There's a intermingling. Oxygen turns into carbon dioxide within the lungs. We don't sense that happening, which is also something really amazing, isn't it? And then we expel it. We expel our frustrations, our anger, our, any sort of negative emotion, just expel it into the environment. So pure air came in and negativity went out. Just breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, hold it. Sense the exchange happening. And then breathe out. So I'll do 5. And with every breath, I imagine that my connection to the environment is becoming stronger. And at the end of breath 5, the realization sinks in that I am the environment. There's no difference. So let's begin. You can I won't count, just hear my breath. If you feel pretty relaxed, that's great. That's the intention. The positive way to think about it is to become unified with the environment, is to say that I am the environment. That is an attempt to reduce the ego by attachment. In essence, what I'm doing here is I'm suggesting that mankind suffers from very strong egos. I want to elaborate on that because it becomes ugly and I don't wish to do that. I don't wish to bring negativity into me. I just wish to expel it. But you do that through an attachment to the environment and you reduce the ego's footprint. The ego melds into the environment. You can imagine that. You can just imagine it leaking out into the environment. Your anger, your frustration, this is me, and, how can you do that to me? And, you are mine or you are hers or whatever, all of those things. This is my house, my property, and, you are impinging on it, and all of those attachments, right? My daughter and my this and my that, everything, my emotions, my feelings, my this, my, all of those things, right? They're all egos, right? My country, my, unit, my whatever. Now, it's okay to have that. Sometimes it's necessary. You want to protect your family, and those are those are not unreasonable responses. But what I'm suggesting is that the world, humanity in general, suffers from an excess of ego. So you can say, I'm the environment. It wouldn't be wrong. You are part of the environment. These people are part of the environment, aren't they? So is this plant, so is this rock, so is air, so is space, so are these trees, so is everything, so are the birds, everything, the sun, all of it. It's part of the environment. As usual, some of the stuff I'm saying is quite powerful. It can literally change you. So before you accept anything I say, you should examine it yourself. You should, and this is a way of thinking about anything, or anyone, or any speech, or any words that you hear, or anything that you read. You should always be self-aware and understand that anything you read has to be treated with a dose of skepticism first. Whatever you hear, whatever you read, has to first be treated with skepticism, without trust. Only after you've heard it, you've understood it, and then you've examined it under the microscope of reason, rationality, logic, after you've examined it thoroughly and examined the context around it, not just a one-line snippet that they use in elections against someone or 10-second advertisements. No, none of that, right? Those are all typically negative. And if they're positive, they will just tell you that, oh, we're for jobs and we're for this and we're for that. It doesn't mean anything. You have to examine it carefully under a microscope in the light of reason, rationality, and logic. Does that make sense? Is there a plan? How is the plan going to be implemented? What are the steps? Who's the team? Can the team be trusted? Can the speaker who is speaking be trusted? All of those things have to be carefully examined. Under the light of reason. So whatever I'm saying, you should treat me the same way. You should examine it under the light of reason and see if that makes if anything I say makes sense to you. If I say a meditative exercise where you become the environment, you say to yourself, I am the environment. Am I just trying to brainwash you? Or am I trying to suggest to you that there is a higher truth? We breathe air, and along with air, we breathe microorganisms, we breathe the environment molecules, we breathe it into our lungs. So I come here and I can just release my negativity. Any negative thoughts I have, I can just release it. I do release my carbon dioxide, and the trees take it for their growth, for their nourishment. The other way of releasing the ego or reducing the footprint of the ego is to say to yourself that, so this way, it's a positive way, it's a way of saying, it's a way of attachment, it's a way of saying, I am the environment. The other way of reducing the ego is to say to yourself that my life force that arrived into my mother's womb when I was conceived, my life force, and that life force which will leave when I die, that life force is not simply my body, and it's not simply my mind. My mind is an organ, the body is filled with organs. The body is extremely complex, and it's meat, bones, and all of the other systems that are in it. The mind is, as I said, an organ that allows me to speak, to see, to hear, to do all of these wonderful things. And it controls my body's organs. And yet, I am not the body or the mind. I am that subjective consciousness, the life force, the essence that will leave when this body dies. That's who I am. So if I say to myself, I am not the body, I am not the mind, and just sort of step back and just see what effect that statement has on you. If you say it out loud, what effect does that have on your ego?
We tip him into the water.
When I first started doing it, my ego
How are we gonna get him from up? Okay. See, this is why.
When I first started repeating this, I'm not the mind, I'm not the body, I found that the ego would send me a lot of distracting thoughts.
A turtle escaped.
The best moment of summer again.
Devastated.
It would constantly,
Yes.
make me think of thoughts that were not conducive to that particular meditation, that I'm not the mind or I'm not the body. It was really strange. It would, sometimes, um, make me realize that I was feeling something, make me realize that I was touching something, smelling something. In other words, it was trying to imply that I was my body. And then thoughts would just run and, oh, you have this to do or you have that to do. Why don't we, go home and let's do this and let's do that? Or things along those lines. Because it is very uncomfortable to accept that I'm not the mind and I'm not the body. It's a strange thing to say, to be perfectly candid with you, because we grow up thinking that's who we are. We are the mind, we are the body. How can I not be the mind or body? But think through it. Think through what death is. If you are the mind or body, you would never die, would you?
Dog. They literally, Marisol literally told us not to hand people. Because that will happen. They won't.
And that's the second way of reducing the footprint of the ego within our lives. The reason we want to do that is because, as I said, I think humanity suffers from very strong egos. An ego prevents the ability of one human being to be gentle or kind with another. We are more able to be gentle and kind with turtles than we are to other human beings.
He just pushed him out of the way. He said,
And there's something, I don't know, there's something tragic about the idea that our egos are so strong. Many of these egos are so strong because of trauma, because of childhood trauma that they might have suffered. And the tragedy of it all is that the system causes trauma in early childhood and then puts those very same people with strong egos that were developed for adaptive reasons, protective reasons, they put the very same people in power. And then, these egos have often, and I'm not trying to, create a, how shall I say it, defend these people who are in power. I'm just suggesting that, these people, the reason they don't seem to have sometimes any sense of proportion or mercy or judgment or tenderness or kindness or the ability to compromise or the ability to see the other person's point of view or any of that, the reason they don't seem to have that, even though not just people in power, but the very people at the very top, the highest people, the reason they can't seem to do that is because they have this real sense of, I am whatever. I'm this, entity who controls everything, and I just can't relinquish that, and this is how it's got to be, and there is no better way to do this, and this timeline is fixed, and that's the end of that. They just can't seem to relinquish that, even if it's for their betterment, even if it's for the betterment of the society, even if you could demonstrate to them conclusively that it's for everybody's benefit, including theirs, and they would still not agree, just because their ego gets in the way. I'm not referring to anybody specific. I'm just saying that this is how the world works. Anyway, I'm going to breathe again, simply to release all of this stuff that I just spoke about. I don't need that. I would rather just release it. So 5 breaths, easy, and then I am the environment.
I'm trying to give some of the ones who won't pile up. Oh yeah, maybe.
I'm looking directly into the sun right now, and there's something, the sun is not bright, and it's coming through the trees, and there's something really beautiful about it. I can stare directly into it, and it's, wow. I can't actually describe what I'm seeing. It's like, whoa. You probably won't be able to see what I'm seeing. It feels like there are millions and millions of particles and rays and just constantly coming into my eyes, just constantly streaming in. That was really, wow. During the day, the sun is too bright. You can't actually look into the sun for too long. Right now, I stared into it for like almost 30, 40 seconds. And it was amazing. And it kept changing too. The rays kept sort of changing. It's gone now. It's kind of still there, but sort of hiding now. I'm gonna call this now. I fed them earlier. That's very satisfying. I also watered plants, and I know that because of the donation to what is it, Feed the World, or I forget the organization. But 50 kids are going to be fed today because of whatever little donation I made. And so the only creatures I'm not feeding are birds, and I'm not too worried about birds. Birds seem to have this miraculous ability to find their own food somehow. You ever notice that? Like birds just just hop around, man, and they like find food somewhere, anywhere. I know that hummingbirds find it from flowers, but I don't know where the other birds. I mean, they probably find seeds somewhere, right? But we don't watch them. At least I don't watch them close enough to sort of know exactly how they obtain their source of nourishment. But they're out there. Oh, what a beautiful night. All right. Yeah, sun's back. Isn't it supposed to set? Is it at the same place? Are you guys doing sun as an augmented reality or what? I'll have to look at this very closely. Where exactly was the sun, and how come it's not setting? I mean, it's still. I've been talking for almost an hour. 58 minutes almost. Anyway, I hope you have a great evening. Take care.